Okay. Very good morning, all of you. And I take this opportunity to welcome you all to the workshop. You know, assuming that you are just onboarding on the process of the preparation for APPSCCE. Okay. Uh, my name is Ashish Ranjan, and I teach the subject of history in history and economics in the general studies portion, and I take the optional subject of public administration in Success Point. Soon I'll be joined by my other colleagues, and some of them are occupied in the classes. So, they will not be joining us. Fine. Uh, so, I will first tell you the agenda for the workshop that we have assembled over here and try to explain you the syllabus because it's very important to know beforehand the syllabus that you will be studying for the next 9-10 months. Okay. So, I will just brief you with the agenda for the workshop. Can I assume that most of us are starting our preparation at this point of time? How many of us are just starting our preparation? Okay, good number of us. Obviously, that's why we are here for the workshop, right? So the agenda for the workshop would be to make you familiar with the stages of APPSCCE, the Arunachal Pradesh Public Service Combined Competitive Examination. That what are the different stages? Okay, that you have the prelim stage, you have the main stage, you have the personality test, and then after having covered the stages, then second is the syllabus of the examination, the syllabus of different stages. Then third, that we'll be talking about, we'll try to devise a strategy that what should be a strategy. In fact, when I talk about the strategy, I will, from my side, the advice would be to unlearn most of the strategy that we have heard of, because many times the preparation of civil services is made to sound very, very complicated, right? And a very simple thing is to keep it as simple as possible. Keep it very short and simple. A lot of strategy making, etc., can be very misleading. It is one of the most conventional examinations which is conducted in the country. You look at all the examinations that there have been changes in the form, that examinations have gone generally, multiple choice question based. Examinations have been switched to online mode, right? You write a computer based exams, but civil services is one exam which has remained very, very conventional since the very time that the examination started itself, right? Why? Because you will be managing a very complex task of the government, a humongous task of maintaining the administration of the state, the administration of the country, right? So the foundation has to be very, very strong. In civil services, no amount of smart work can replace hard work, right? Okay. So I'm happy to join by my colleague Ashutosh Pandey sir. Okay. So the strategy for the examination, and fourth, then I will talk about the courses which are to be offered at Success Point, right? The courses which will be offered at Success Point, and then we will leave it for an open session for you to ask any query that if you have at all. Okay. So this will be the agenda of the workshop session, right? Without wasting any time, then let me start with the first thing, which is the stages of APPSCCE. First, I'm just making an assumption, although the vacancy last time was 140, and generally, based on what we often hear in the news, that there is a lot of vacancy which is yet to be filled in the government department, that probably the vacancy is likely to be something that has been in the recent past, right? But just for the ease of calculation, my assumption that let's assume, say I am assuming that the vacancy is 100. Let me assume that the vacancy is 100. In that case, that in prelims examination, that you will have 12 times the selection. That means if at all, if the vacancy is 100, then 1200 people will qualify prelims and move to the main stage of examination. In mains examination, the 1200 people who will be writing the mains examination, out of them, that selection will be in the ratio of 1:3. 1:3, that is, the vacancy is 100, so 3 times the number of candidates, subject to the criteria that they have fulfilled the basic qualification criteria, right, that they will get selected. Okay, so in mains, 3 times the vacancy, which is 100 into 3, that is 300 people will qualify the mains examination, and they will move to the stage of personality test. And obviously, after the personality test, based on the total marks scored in mains and personality test, based on the total marks that a candidate scores in the mains and personality test, that overall 100 people will be recruited. Why? Because my assumption was that 100 people, that there is a vacancy of 100. Suppose if there is a vacancy of 200, then 2400 people will be selected in prelims, that 600 people will write mains, and 200 people will be selected in the for the final merit list. Okay, so I hope this is clear. The first stage of the examination is the prelims examination. The prelims examination is a multiple choice question examination comprising of 2 papers, right? Comprising of 2 papers. First paper is general studies. First paper is general studies. It comprises of 200 marks, which is that you will have 100 multiple choice questions into 2 marks each. But remember that there is a negative marking as well. If you mark the answer correct, you will get +2. If you mark the answer incorrect, then you will get -2/3. 1/3 is the negative marking. That is 1/3 of the marks allotted. If the marks allotted is 2 marks, then 1/3 of the marks allotted will be deducted. That means now you will be given -2/3 marks. And if you leave it unattempted, then you get 0, obviously, right? So that overall there will be 100 questions to solve. It is a 2-hour examination. This will be in the morning slot. This will be in the morning slot. Now let me, allow me to complete the first and the second stage together, right? So that, I can write it over here itself. If I look at the syllabus of this, it comprises of Indian history. So you will have questions on Indian history, geography, that we have Indian polity, which is constitution, Indian polity, which is the constitution of India. You will have Indian economy, then you will have environment and ecology, and then general science, which is your school level elementary physics, chemistry, biology, and then the current affairs. Current affairs. So these are the topics from where questions will be asked in the first paper, which is general studies paper of your prelims examination. If you roughly look at the trend, roughly, that there have been close to 18 to 20 questions each from history and geography. Okay, around some 15 questions from polity, around some 10 questions from, say, economy. Okay, from environment and ecology, again around some 10 questions, 8 to 10 questions from here. General science, again some 8 to 10 questions from general science, and the rest current affairs. But remember, current affairs is also not in especially in APPSCC, and if you look at even the other state PCS exams, that the current affairs is not just the recent events, it is current affairs plus GK kind of questions. General knowledge. For example, I'll tell you, in APPSCC 2024, there was a question that the International Solar Alliance is an alliance between India and which other country? Now, the International Solar Alliance did not come up in 2024 or 23, 22, 21. No, it is almost a decade old. International Solar Alliance, almost a decade old. So it is not current affairs. It is more like your general knowledge. For example, questions like, if a question is asked, when is the Good Governance Day? It's not current affairs. It's a general knowledge, right? Why I'm telling you? Because, if especially, again, now this is my opinion, right? If you look at the question paper of APPSCC 2020 and 24, the new format of examination since the time it started, you will find that a very solid way. I'm not saying that current affairs is not important. It's very important, especially when it comes to mains examination, answer writing, etc. But prelims examination, you need to be very, very, strong at your conventional subjects, which are Indian history, geography, polity, economy, environment, ecology, and general science. Because you look at the questions which have come in current affairs or general knowledge, GK, they are like shooting in the dark. They are not very standard GK questions, right? There is an endless syllabus of GK and current affairs, but then these subjects have a more well-defined syllabus, and therefore the probability of finding a question from where you have studied is very, very high, right? For example, if you study Indian history, if you follow class 11th and 12th NCERT Indian history, there are high chances that out of those 20 questions, that around some 13, 14 questions will be familiar to you, right? Around some 13, 14 questions will be familiar to you. And now let me bring the surprise element that out of this 200 marks, can you guess that what was the cutoff in APPSCC 2024 for the APST category? Or anybody knows? 81 point something, right? It was 81 point something out of 200. Why I'm telling you this? Because many times it is seen that there is a lot of panic created around civil services examination, as if making it look like achievable only by the gods and goddesses, not by ordinary human beings, right? All my strategy is just to kind of, demystify the examination, right? Just focus on your study. Anything that sounds very fancy, stay away from it. Anything that presents you a very cozy picture, कि अरे ऐसे करो तुरंत निकल जाएगा, stay away from it. It's a very conventional examination. Work hard, right? It is bound to have a very frustrating journey, right? Try to, kind of keep on hustling, keep on struggling, have a good hobby so that, when you are studying, you fall back on your hobby, some half an hour, it relaxes, you get back to studies. Why? Because if you are good at these conventional subjects, it is very easy to score a 90, 100 marks very, very comfortably, right? And what is the nature of question over here? The nature of question in APPSCCE and any state PCS has been very, very factual. Here comes an examination, and then what will happen? That, we will have a lot of FOMO, है ना? Fear of missing out बहुत होगा. कोई बोलेगा ये कर लो, वो कर लो, ऐसे कर लो, वैसे कर लो. Never. You keep your sources very, very limited. Keep it standard sources. Revise it time and again. Why? Because the prelims test is a test of your recall. The prelims test is a test of your recall. You study so many things, but then it is not possible that we remember everything that we have studied. But in prelims examination, what comes to our rescue? That there are 4 options given, right? That there are 4 options given alongside, right? 4 other options given alongside. So, agar if I have studied something for time and again, it is possible that when the question was asked, I don't know the answer of it. But when I look at the 4 options, somehow I will be reminded कि मैंने यही आंसर पढ़ा था. Yes or no? If the options are removed and if the questions are asked as it is, then I think the cutoff from 81 will come down to 31. Right? Then it will be very, very difficult to answer. We have something called as a muscle memory. I'm not preaching philosophy, it's science, right? Muscle memory. कभी होता है आप कार चला रहे हैं यहां से नाहरलगन, है ना, 6 किलो कब पार हुआ पता नहीं चला. You were not present on the road. I'm not saying that do this, right? You were not present on the road, but your muscle memory, your memory muscles know the path because you have traveled the path multiple number of times. Prelims examination is something like that. It is a test of recall कि मैंने कभी तो ऐसा पढ़ा था और मुझे याद आ रहा है ये ऑप्शन है, right? So simple strategy is the coverage of conventional subjects in detail and maximum number of times of revision, so that when a question is asked, even if I don't know the answer, at least when I look at the option, my muscle memory helps in recalling the answer कि मैंने यही पढ़ा था. Should I give you a relatable example? For example, say how many students were there in your class in say class 10th? Class 10th में आपके स्कूल में कितने students थे? 10th में नहीं, in your class only 12 students. मेरा example flop हो गया थोड़ा. बाकी लोग जो थोड़ा populated area से हो, do you remember the name of all the 12 students? Because it's 12, right? Yeah. Anybody with 30, 40 students? Do you remember the name of all the students? अब जबरदस्ती का फ्लॉप मत करो मुझे, ठीक है? Do you remember the name of all the students? जो yes बोलेगा मैं खड़ा करा के all 40 का नाम बोलने के लिए बोलूंगा, right? Let's accept, you know, that we don't remember. I don't say that we don't know. सामने आने से याद हो जाएगा. But then we don't remember the name of all the 40, 50 students. Yes or no? कभी कभी ऐसा होगा आप यहाँ पे खड़े हैं सामने बीबी प्लाजा से देखा कोई तो निकल रहा है आपका स्कूल का कॉलेज जूनियर सीनियर है ना. समथिंग कॉल्ड इट्स देयर इन माय स्टमक, आई एम नॉट एबल टू रिकॉल कौन था ये. और उसको देखकर फिर हमें बहुत ऑकवर्ड होता है तो हम लोग कुछ कुछ है ना अपना गलती छुपाने के लिए देयर आर सर्टेन टर्म्स. और दोस्त कैसा है ना, अच्छी ठीक है आप, क्योंकि नाम नहीं याद है तो दोस्त अच्छी इससे बोल के काम चला रहा है. बट सपोज नाउ द पर्सन सेज दैट लुक आई नो यू आर नॉट रिकॉलिंग माय नेम. आई गिव यू 4 ऑप्शंस, राइट? आई गिव यू 4 ऑप्शंस, है ना. कुछ 4 ऑप्शन दिया ऐसे कि बताओ मेरा नाम कौन है ना, कि मेरा नाम जाबू केना है, मेरा नाम अजान रंगम है, मेरा नाम बेंगिया ताजी है, राइट, या मेरा नाम रोनाल्ड बुई है. 4 ऑप्शन दिया. अब आप गेस कर पाएगा, यस और नो? मान लो उसमें भी हालत खराब हो गया गेस करने में, ठीक है? मान लो उसमें भी हालत खराब हो गया गेस करने में, तो आप क्या गेस कर सकते हैं कि हमको याद है ये वाला जो अच्छी है हमको एक बार बोला था न्यूकुम में आने के लिए, तो इसका नाम क्या होगा? बेंगिया ताजी, राइट? शायद जाबू केना नहीं होगा. गेटिंग इट? दैट्स हाउ द प्रीलिम्स एग्जामिनेशन इज. आप अपना दिमाग लगाएगा. यू स्टडी सो मेनी थिंग्स, you study so many things, it is not possible to recall all the facts. Was I able to recall the fact when the options were served to me? Even then थोड़ा सा डोल्ड्रम है. Then I will apply my mind कि कुछ तो पढ़ा था, इसका आंसर क्या हो सकता है. And when will you have that conviction? When will you have that conviction? When you have studied multiple number of times. If you have not studied multiple number of times, you cannot have that conviction to apply a rational application of whatever you have studied. Getting it? I hope. किसी को मैंने पता नहीं क्यों strategy लिख दिया है उस workshop paper में. This is the strategy, as simple as that. Keep working hard, keep revising, ensure coverage of syllabus, and read multiple number of times so that when the option comes in front of you, you are able to recall, or else you are able to apply your mind and get the answer. There is no other strategy. There is no other strategy, right? For this, you wish to attend a class, you wish to study by yourself, whatever is your choice, you do it, but you follow this strategy that there is no shortcut, no alternative. Read, work hard, Life is unfair. If you don't succeed, it's very unfair. We are the luckiest lot of people who knows that we are going to write the exam in the next 9 months. Nowhere, none of the earlier students knew in advance that we are going to write the exam in the next 9 months. Yes or no? Such detailed calendar was never released by the commission. So you are very fortunate because you can plan your preparation well in advance, right? You can plan your preparation well in advance. Okay. The second stage is the CSAT paper. This is called the Civil Services Aptitude Test. It again comprises of 200 marks. It again comprises of 200 marks. But over here, if you look at the number of questions are 80 questions into 2.5 marks each. So 80 into 2.5 makes it 200. What are the subjects? We have basic mathematics. We have a subject of basic maths. We have a subject of reasoning. We have a subject of reading comprehension. In fact, reading comprehension, say 20 questions aate hain. So it's a very, very important segment. 50 marks. 20 into 2.5. 50 marks ka reading comprehension alone comes. Then interpersonal communication. Okay. Interpersonal communication. Okay. That communication between two people, how it should be interpersonal communication. Yes, please come and find a seat. Okay. Interpersonal communication. And then administrative course of action. The administrative course of action. Okay. So what are the topics? We have a topic of basic mathematics. Okay. I'm sure you know what are basic mathematics, questions on percentage, questions on profit and loss, questions on simple interest, etc. Some reasoning questions, right? And then reading comprehension, we know probably we may not be very clear about an interpersonal communication. That what is this interpersonal communication? Interpersonal communication is that how should two people communicate to each other? What can be some of the barriers in communication? For example, say barrier in communication. If I speak in Telugu, but then if you don't understand Telugu, that's a barrier in communication. Yes or no? For ये तो बहुत एक simple barrier है. There can be a psychological barrier that I'm speaking, but in your mind you have a doubt against me. है ना? In your mind you have a doubt against me. For example, generally in friends, है ना, आपस में जो एक रोस्ट करने का, फ्लॉप करने का कल्चर होता है, पता चला पार्लर से निकल के आ रहा है, हेयर कट करा के, और कोई सामने दो स्माइल करके बोल दिया, अरे बहुत स्मार्ट लग रहा है. आपको मन में डाउट आता है कि कहीं खराब तो नहीं लग रहा है, नहीं तो ये हमको स्मार्ट क्यों बोला है. Probably there is something fishy about it. So that is my psychological barrier. It is possible that the person was genuinely appreciating me, but because we have a tendency to doubt our friends कि ये चाहते हैं कि हम खराब लगे कहीं पे, right? So that हमारा roasting हो सके. So that is why he is telling कि smart लग रहा है. That is my psychological barrier. That is a barrier to communication. More professional example, you join an office, you become circle officer, right? You have a golden idea in your mind, but you are hesitant to communicate the idea to the district collector, to the secretary. Why? Because in the organization there is a hierarchy. That's a hierarchical barrier, right? So these are all barriers to communication. So how to promote interpersonal communication? That is what we see in interpersonal communication. Administrative course of action, that there are multiple situations in which an administrator is put in. What course of action is better? So 4 courses of action will be given, and you will have to select a course of action from the list of various courses of action given, right? For example, suppose if you are the deputy superintendent of police, there is a protest going on, right? And suddenly that there is a VIP movement scheduled to happen. The protesters have started, destroying the public property, started pelting stones. what action will you take? 4 options are given, right? So that is what is the administrative course of action. I hope now there is some clarity over the prelims examination, right? Paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 in the morning slot, paper 2 in the late afternoon slot, right? Now this paper, CSAT paper, I'm putting an asterisk mark because this is a qualifying paper. This is a qualifying paper and the qualifying score is 33%. What is 33% of 200? 66 marks. 66 marks. सबसे पहले देखा जाएगा how much have you scored in your CSAT paper? In GS, whatever you have scored, 200 out of 200. But then in CSAT, if your score was 65.9, that means you are not selected. In CSAT, you must have scored a 66 marks. You must have scored a 66 marks, right? And whether you score a 67, whether you score a 97, whether you score a 150 or even a 200 out of 200, does it make any difference? No, that is why it is called a qualifying paper. The only thing which will be asked is whether the score was 66 and more or not. If yes, fine. Now let me look at your GS marks. If no, sorry, whatever is your GS marks does not matter, right? So how the selection will be done, I'm again going for the ease of understanding. I'm looking at the vacancy, wo example mera. Suppose if there is a vacancy of 100 candidates, so 1200 people will get selected. Who are those 1200? First, a list of all the people who have qualified CSAT will be prepared. Now their general study score will be arranged from highest to lowest. मैंने सारे स्टूडेंट्स में से किसको फिल्टर आउट कर लिया? Those who have qualified CSAT. Now their GS marks are arranged and the top 1200 over there will be selected for prelims. Selected in the prelims to write the mains examination. Is the format, is the process of selection clear to everyone? Paka? So that means there is the first thing that you should do today. The very first thing you should do today after your workshop. I hope you're all a part of the inquiry group. No, if not, then after the class, please meet me. You scan the barcode and join it. After that, I will be posting, because see, it's time. You know, we believe in a completely different ethical, ethical conduct. That whatever efforts you and I make, it should converge into your selection. I will be posting the 2 CSAT papers of APPSCCE 2020 and 2025. The 2024, sorry. You solve both the papers in the next 5 days. Right? You solve the paper in the next 5 days. If you see that you are getting, and I will be posting the solution also in the same group. If you see that you are scoring more than 90, then do you really need to prepare separately for CSAT? Yes or no? I'm sure that at least there is one person in the class who is good at basic mathematics, reasoning and reading comprehension, etc. How will you verify the same? By solving the PYQ. Solve both the papers. If you are somebody who is getting more, but solve it in due time, एक बार में 2 घंटे बैठ के. Please do this. Our idea is to simplify an examination which is otherwise very complex. The moment, suppose, what if by tonight you realize that in APPSCCE 2020 I would have scored 110 marks in my CSAT, and by next 2 days you realize that in APPSCCE 2024 I was getting more than 100 marks. You need not prepare for CSAT separately. You may just write 2 papers every month. That's it, just to remain in practice. What a wonderful moment it would be that in the very first week of preparation, you are relieved from the tension of a CSAT, right? But if not, if you are somebody who's struggling to get a 60, 65, then you need to focus a lot on CSAT, because you know that howsoever good I score in my GS, if I do not secure a qualifying score, Even if you are somebody who's getting a 70, 75, but then you are quite close to the border, so you need to increase your efforts over there. But if you're scoring something more than 90, 100, so there is a lot of buffer space that you have, that you will easily qualify CSAT, right? So that is the first task that you need to do. That is the first task. Why? Because we all have studied basic maths, reading comprehension, etc. So test yourself that to what extent you need to prepare CSAT. If you are weak, you cannot afford to ignore this. If you are weak at this, you cannot afford to ignore this, because ये सारी मेहनत बेकार चली जाएगी if you are stuck at a 65 marks over here. And let me remind you that good number of candidates, they do not qualify CSAT. But there may be another reason for it, which I'll discuss later. And obviously, if somebody who is very confident over here, now you have your task clearly laid down, right? You have your task clearly laid down that focus on the general studies part. Am I clear? Okay. Now coming to the main stage of examination. See, prelims exam. Whatever I say, don't misunderstand that prelims examination is not important. Prelims examination is very important, because if you don't qualify, obviously you will not be writing the mains. But the in my example, those people, as per my assumption, if 100 is the vacancy, the 1200 people who will be writing the mains examination, now they do not carry forward their prelim score. So suppose you topped in the prelims examination and your friend was the last entry in the mains, prelims to mains mein, you are all at the same footing now. The marks scored does not get carried forward when you write your mains examination. Now when you enter the mains examination phase, that it is a mammoth task. It's a Himalayan task. So, this is something which will look very, very intimidating. Dar lagega isko dekhkar. Write the syllabus of it. And that is what makes it very important to prepare for mains well in advance, because the main syllabus is so humongous that you will not be able to cover it in the first, in the 3 months between your prelims and mains. In September, on 6th of September, we have the prelims exam scheduled. The mains exam will be in December as notified in the calendar. So September, October, November, that probably 3 months will not be sufficient for you to prepare for your mains examination. If you look at the overall scheme of the exam, for example, say last time, some 21,000 people, they filled the form of prelims examination. I don't recall the exact number, around some 15, 16,000 people appeared. So not even all the people appear. It's the same story in UPSC. But all the people who fill the form, they don't appear. क्योंकि जब फॉर्म निकलता है हमारे अंदर जोश होता है, ये एग्जाम में पढ़ेगा अच्छे से, सीधा वो गाड़ी पे लाल बत्ती लगा के घूमेगा, है ना, ऑल दीज ड्रीम्स. तो जोश जोश में सब लोग भर दिया. उसके बाद सिलेबस देखने पे उपाय दोमा होता है दैट कि ये तो बहुत मुश्किल है यार, है ना. देन सम पीपल टेंड टू गिव अप, एंड देन दैट because and one reason why everyone fills the form, because what is the price of a commission examinations form? 100 rupee, 200 rupee, right? 100, 200 rupee. You don't have a beer one evening, you can fill the form of commissions exam. You will never find somebody writing a GRE, a GMAT exam just for fun. कह रहे मेरा दोस्त GRE का एग्जाम दे रहा तो मैं भी दे देता हूँ. Why? Because the form fee is 15,000 rupee, है ना, महीने भर का खर्चा. So people don't write this just like that, just for fun. But that is why you have a large number of applicants. But remember that there are many candidates who are non-serious candidates, or even semi-serious candidates. Non-serious जो बस चलो फॉर्म फिल कर देते हैं, बाकियों को पता रहेगा सिविल सर्विसेज का फॉर्म भरा है तो थोड़ा सोसाइटी में इज्जत मिलेगा. सेमी सीरियस, क्या आज पढ़ाई किए, फिर अगला दिन थोड़ा सा कुछ तो जरूरी काम आ गया था सर, बस्ती में जाना पड़ा, राइट. सेमी सीरियस, है ना, अभी थोड़ा जनवरी में तो पिकनिक का टाइम होता है, जनवरी अभी नहीं सर, बाद में फरवरी से पढ़ाई शुरू करेगा। सेमी सीरियस, ठीक है। Prelims examination basically aims at eliminating the non-serious and semi-serious students, right? Non-serious and semi-serious students. And that is why that, we choose to hold the workshop, that today is a gazetted holiday, right? Probably, we could have enjoyed this holiday, but let's make a resolve. Let's take a pledge that from here on, right up to the end of our, exam, that we are going to be very, very disciplined, nothing else. We are going to be very, very disciplined, nothing else. So the non-serious and semi-serious candidates, generally, the prelims examination would try to eliminate them. So that now I have a pool of serious candidates, and the commission will take a rigorous examination of those people. How? In the mains examination, okay, in the mains examination, that there is one paper which is qualifying English. The qualifying English paper. This is of 300 marks. This is qualifying paper. You have to score 33%. The marks that you score is not considered in the merit list. It is not considered for the total marks that you secure. Just that you should have scored more than 100 marks. That's it. इसका qualifying होता है 33%, 1/3. Okay. After this, we have an essay paper. Essay paper is of 250 marks. At present, that the commission asks 2 essays. And for each essay, the commission last time gave 4 choices. That out of 4 choices, I have to write the first essay, and then the second essay, again, you will have 4 choices. The second essay is Arunachal Pradesh specific. The first essay is a general essay. First essay is a general essay. The second essay is Arunachal Pradesh specific. So you have the second essay ka syllabus clear cut given to you, that you study about the social, the cultural, the economic, right, aspects of Arunachal Pradesh, some other important topics, agriculture, international security, the menace of drug trafficking, etc. And probably that you would be prepared for the second essay. First essay, there is no clear-cut syllabus, there is no explicit syllabus. It can come on any issues, right? Then we have the general studies paper 1. What are the subjects that you have to study in a general studies paper 1? We have to study history, but I would advise you to go through your workshop material. In this history, you only have modern history and you have to study world history. So there is slight difference in the syllabus of prelims history and mains history. In prelims history, we have to study ancient Indian history, medieval Indian history, modern Indian history, obviously including the Northeast history. In mains GS paper 1, we do not have to study ancient and medieval history. We have to study only modern Indian history, but we also have to study a world history as well as art and culture, right? Art and culture. So history, geography, a new topic, Indian society. This Indian society is not at all there in prelims. Indian society and topics on Northeast India. On Northeast. This is a part of General Studies paper 1. Fine, 250 marks. Then there is the paper of General Studies paper 2. Okay. The paper of General Studies paper 2. General Studies paper 2 is polity. So when I say polity, so polity and constitution. So polity or constitution. Second, you have the topic of social justice, governance, and international relation. Now, I would like to highlight one thing over here. See, why you need to, whenever you study in a very holistic manner, not in bits and pieces. Why? Because suppose you are studying about social justice, right? If you just study social justice without adequate knowledge of constitution, polity, see, social justice kya hai? Social justice is what the government is providing towards the vulnerable sections of society, right? The marginalized section of society, the poor people, the elderly people, the differently abled, right? The scheduled caste, the scheduled tribe, women, backward section of society, minorities. But then can I just study that? Or do I really need to know that what are the provisions of constitution that support social justice? So remember that whenever you study in a very combined, holistic manner. ऐसा नहीं करिए क्योंकि अभी मैं पढ़ ले रहा हूँ पॉलिटी, फिर आराम से बाद में देखा जाएगा सोशल जस्टिस, फिर गवर्नेंस. नॉट लाइक दैट. The syllabus of the commission is very, very rationally organized, right? It's very rationally organized. So you must, like for example, when you are studying a paper, you study a paper intact. You study the entire paper intact, right? You cannot leave one and jump onto the other because it has been arranged in a very, very rational chronological order. Fine. So that is what I'm saying. Always follow a very conventional approach, a time-tested approach. Too much of smart work, which aims to replace the hard work, is almost a suicide that one can commit in civil services preparation. Okay. Third, say the general studies, paper 3. This comprises of economic development, internal security. Look, let me again repeat what I was saying. Don't you think that most of the internal security issues are also because of the lack of economic development? Look at the states which are facing internal security issues, which are the hot spots of Naxalism in the country. Left-wing extremism. Paradoxically, paradox समझते हैं? जो self contradictory होता है. Paradoxically, all these regions are the richest mineral resource region of the country. States like Jharkhand, states like Orissa, states like Chhattisgarh. Why? Because people had a sense of deprivation, that we are rich in mineral resources, but why is it that we are the most deprived people? So internal security is not an isolated topic. Internal security has its roots in economic development, rather the lack of economic development. Getting it? So if you don't study it together, if you don't study it in a very, in a relatable manner, then probably for internal security, we will missing on the reasons, the economic reasons for internal security, right? Say, for example, economic development today has a great fear of being unsustainable in nature. Yes or no? That we can go for rampant today, that when the state is taking up projects like the proposed construction of big dams, what is the fear? One fear. Why at times that there is an opposition to such initiatives? Because people fear, one of the fear is that in the long run, that we will become vulnerable to disasters, natural calamities. So for that reason, yes, it's good that on one hand, economic development is boosted by science and technology. So you have to study a science and technology in GS paper 3. There is a reason that we don't study science and technology in GS paper 2, in GS paper 3, because science and technology is helping in economic development, but the same economic development can result into ecological catastrophe, disaster, and therefore we have to study disaster management. disaster management. I hope you are understanding the rationale of the syllabus, the logic of the syllabus, right? Okay. I request Ashutosh sir, if you have something to add to whatever I'm saying, please feel free. No. That general studies paper 4. This is one paper. See, all these papers till now for biodiversity. That's why I asked for your help, right? That biodiversity. We see that we are taking up palm oil cultivation project, right, in Arunachal Pradesh. But then there is some opposition to it. Why? Because it has been proven that, for example, in countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, that when palm oil cultivation was undertaken, that there was a loss to biodiversity, right? And we are in a environmentally very sensitive region, right, where we have a very high biodiversity, right, where we have a high biodiversity, and therefore for that reason, that again, that developmental projects should not hamper biodiversity, right? So as sir's class got over, Akshay Jain sir is again, we are joined by Akshay Jain sir. Okay. GS paper 1, 2, and 3 that we have all the topics, which some of these topics are also there in your prelims exam. For example, history and geography. History and geography you study in prelims, even in mains, right? Polity is in prelims as well. Economics is in prelims as well, but the rest of the topics are not in prelims. And remember that the topics that you study in economic development in mains may not be exactly the same topics that you study in Indian economy in prelims. Okay. But this GS paper 4 is a completely different paper, which is ethics, integrity, and aptitude. Ethics, integrity, and aptitude. All these papers are of 250 marks each. All these papers are of 250 marks each. And then besides the mandatory papers, essay, GS1, GS2, GS3, and GS4, that now we have the freedom to choose one subject in which we want to write the examination, which is called as the optional subject. At present, we have to choose only one optional subject. Of the same optional subject, there are two papers. For example, suppose somebody who chooses to take history. Okay, somebody who chooses to take history in paper 1, that they will write ancient Indian history and medieval Indian history. In paper 2 will be modern Indian history and world history, right? Modern Indian history and world history. So in that case, that the optional subject, it comprises of two papers of the same subject. That is why 250 into 2, which is 500 marks. So overall, the mains examination comprises of how many marks? The mains examination, it comprises of 1750 marks. 250 into 5, the general papers, an optional paper 500. So 1750 marks. And now out of these 1750 marks, that those who fulfill the basic eligibility criteria, which is that you have to score 20% in each subject. In case of differently abled candidates, it is 10%. But for the other candidates, it is 20%. For example, suppose you scored a very high marks, but then in GS paper 3, you scored only 48 marks, which is less than 20%. 20% will be 50. So that means you will not qualify. So given that the basic qualifying score has been achieved, that out of the 1200 people, as per my example, that the top 300 people in 1:3 ratio, right, they will be selected in mains and they will face the personality test, popularly called as interview. When they go to face the interview, they carry their mains marks. That means mains marks will also be counted in final selection. The interview is of 275 marks. The total score therefore 2025 marks. The top 100 people, as because I assume that the vacancy is 100, right? So those top people will make it to the final list depending upon their marks. The rank list will be prepared. I'm sure, I'm rather doubly sure that you all have gone through the APPSCCE 2024 result, and in the same column, to the right side, in the same column to the right side, that you have the list of marks of the candidates given as well, right? That you have the list of marks of the candidates given as well. And if you look at the marks of the top 25, 30, 40 people over there, you will see them scoring very high in their mains examination. It is possible that some candidates, because of their very high interview score, were able to secure a place in the merit list, right? Because probably their main score was 30, 40 marks less than others, but they could make that difference of 30, 40 marks in interview, but that would be exceptional. But you will find good number of people in the top 50 ranks that probably for them facing the interview was a mere formality. Their main score, especially the top 20, 25 people, that their main score was sufficient enough to ensure selection. For them, the interview was a formality, right? And yes, they had a good interview score. That is why they are there in the top ranks. But it is almost impossible to be in the top ranks to get into a service of your choice without scoring high in the mains examination, right? There is only one way to ensure that you secure a very high marks, a very good rank, is to focus on the mains examination. Clear? So I hope the stages are clear, the syllabus is clear as well. Strategy, as I said, that keep it short and simple. So I will write it kahin ek chote se corner pe. That's the strategy. Let me not glorify the strategy. The strategy is keep it very straightforward, keep it very simple. Avoid excessive dose of motivation. Focus on remaining disciplined. At some point of time in our life, we were all more motivated than a Ronaldo to become a Ronaldo. Yes or no? Maybe for 2 days, 3 days, we were all more motivated than a Ronaldo to become a Ronaldo. But probably that on no day of our life, we were as disciplined as a Ronaldo that he is even at 40 years of life, 20 years of stardom, right? If you look at, sports takes away, हमें बस दिखता है कि अरे खेल के स्टार बन गया ना, but I'm sure we are all matured enough to know that what kind of sacrifice they make. That you look at the biggest of the celebrities, look at their lifestyle, especially the sportsmen, that probably what kind of food they cannot afford, but they eat the same regular boring food every day because that's what their health requires. That's what builds up stamina, right? That's the discipline which is required. Discipline is the positive word. The negative word is boring life. Please get used to a boring way of life. Please find peace and happiness in a boring way of life, right? जब लगे ना बहुत boring लग रहा है, मतलब आप ठीक, you are doing good in life. Make sure that you are disciplined throughout, right? There is no alternative to a disciplined way of life, right? You will have to take pain. I'm sure that most of us, right? I'm sure that most of us, what is your, if I can ask, what is your motivation to become a civil servant? What is your motivation to become a civil servant? Anybody? I know these questions can be very, very embarrassing, but still. Nobody has a, I think I've criticized motivation a lot. So, isliye, people are not comfortable. Yes, please. What is your motivation of becoming a civil servant? Don't tell me public service, right? Don't tell me public service. Yes, what is the motivation? कि हम कहीं से निकले, लोग देख के बोले, है ना, ये सिविल सर्वेंट है, ये पुलिस ऑफिसर है, ये एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ऑफिसर है, राइट? That is the biggest, and that will happen only when you do good public service. Or else the same people will protest against you, the same people will curse you, right? The path is that by being a very, very diligent civil servant, that people will appreciate you. People will, recall your name. And, if you really want to make a name for yourself, the only mantra is that you remain disciplined. It requires a lot of pain for you to make your name. There is a very, my hobby is listening to music, any kind of music. So one of, एक तो मेरा एग्जाम नहीं निकला तो मैं सुनता हूँ, I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end it doesn't even matter, right? I would not suggest you to listen to that song at this point of time. एक गाना है, सुनिएगा. Have you heard of a song called Remember the Name? Remember the Name by Fort Minor. क्या बोरिंग लाइफ लीड कर रहे हो यार, गाना भी नहीं सुनते हो. Have you heard Remember the Name by Fort Minor? Just few. सुना है? क्या है लिरिक्स उसका? It's very, don't go by the percentage. It's a very relatable song. We all somehow want that people should remember our name, yes or no? It's a very happy feeling. Remember the name as if, you have made a mark and people recognize your contribution. The song says, Fort Minor, he says that it's 10% luck. At times, hota hai, bahut mehnat kiya, maybe something, didn't turn out good, so luck. That is 10% luck, 20% skill. है ना, उस 20% में मेसी बहुत आगे निकल गया रोनाल्डो से, है ना. That 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, जिसमें रोनाल्डो को कोई पीछे नहीं कर सकता है ना. 15% concentrated power of will power, कोई नहीं आगे निकल सकता है मुझसे, है ना. You must be a 19-year-old football star, but I at 40 years will snatch the ball and show you that you are a kid. I hope you are getting the reference, right? That it's 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% क्या सुना है फिर, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name, right? So make sure that half of the time from here up to December that you experience that pain, and if you feel that pain, you are on the right path. What is that pain? Lead a very, very disciplined way of life. Focus on your study. That's the simplest of strategy. Revise, study, analyze, write answers. That's it. Right? I can say hundreds of other things just to make myself feel important to you. ये करना है, ऐसे करना है, वैसे करना है. Please, it's a very simple strategy. That for your prelims examination, you need to acquire a lot of factual knowledge. The factual knowledge will come with good coverage of syllabus and multiple revision. That's it. No other strategy here. Means that you read, get knowledge, and do a lot of writing practice. Right? Do a lot of writing practice. Okay. Interview, remove your inhibition to speak. By the time you reach interview, you would have enough knowledge to speak. But do you have that inhibition? कभी कभी अंदर से डर लगता है ना लोगों के सामने बोलने में. Remove that inhibition to speak. How will that come? With effort, with practice. That's it. It's a very conventional examination, boys and girls, right? That prepare in a very, very conventional manner, right? Read standard books. If you choose to attend classes, attend the classes regularly. Go back home, revise. Everything else in life will come in 2027 as well. But the opportunity that you lose may not come in 2027, right? Have a definite strategy. For example, today I cannot discuss all the strategy that you will choose for the year to come. But then today when I post the question paper in your group, right, by evening, make sure that by tomorrow that you have solved the CSAT paper. Then day after tomorrow, I will send another CSAT paper. You have solved that CSAT paper. If you think that you are good at it, now you know that okay, half of the task is done in the first 3 days itself. The moment you see a ray of hope, जिस दिन आपको लग गया अपने दिल में कि शायद मेरा निकल सकता है ना, उपाय दोपा पारी जिपा, जब लग गया अंदर दिल में कि सकेगा, you need nobody to guide you, advise you. You will chase your target like a drunk elephant, like a wild bull, right? Because आपको क्या दिख रहा है सामने? Something that you have aspired for throughout your life. Give yourself that ray of hope by working hard initially. Let any amount of difficulty come in your way, right? 15% is concentrated power of will. Willpower कभी नहीं हारना है, right? Try to have a good hobby which is done in isolation. Music, dance, poetry, है ना? That's something you can do in isolation so that when the frustration starts to build up, you can fall back on your hobby. If you are fortunate enough to have maybe one good friend or two good friends who understand that it is the right time for you to study, and you will reach out to them only when you want, only have those kind of friends, है ना? The friend who judges you a lot कि कल तक तो ऐसे कर रहा था, आज मेरे birthday party में नहीं आया, they are not your friends, right? At times, having a good friend helps you because they will be a good support system. During the lows of your life, somebody should be there to cover your back, for whom it is not important that whether you did something right or wrong, because it's you, so you are always right. The friend who says कि तुम गलत करने से हम तुमको समझाएगा is not at all a friend, right? Friend is somebody who says तुम गलत कर ही नहीं सकता है. You have done something, you are always right, right? बाकी वो सब good philosophy, it does not apply to friendship. Somebody who backs you, है ना? आप फर्स्ट टेस्ट में 0 नंबर लाया, आपको कोई बोलने वाला होना चाहिए कि तुम्हारे टीचर को कुछ नहीं आता है, तुम्हारा पक्का निकलेगा, तुम पढ़ते रहो. You know, somebody who kind of inflates your confidence all the time, who covers your back, who makes you feel protected, right? I hope you are getting the essence of what I'm saying. The fact that I'm saying may not be very accurate, but the essence of what I'm saying, right? The more I speak, I will be repetitive, and in the evening, my colleagues will make fun of me. Okay, so beyond this, I don't want to be roasted by my colleagues in the evening, right? So it's time to pass on the baton. Okay, so I'll hand over to Akshay Jain, sir. Thank you, everyone.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Be attentive. Good morning, everyone. Okay. So, my classes generally start with one simple question. I don't know whether you know that or not. Anyone जो इससे पहले पढ़ चुका है? Anyone? Okay, no. हाँ, so, my classes, they start generally with one simple question, and it's important to answer. The question is, how's the Josh, guys? Okay, let's try it again. Okay. How's the Josh, guys? You can take it like anything. You can take it your morning alarm. कि हम सक्सेस पॉइंट में पहुंचे हैं तो देयर इज सक्सेस पॉइंट अलार्म सिस्टम गोइंग ऑन. ठीक है. नाउ व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द केस, तो आई एम नॉट गोना टॉक अ लॉट, बहुत ज्यादा नहीं, ये आशीष सर के लिए सूट करता है. ठीक है. जस्ट 2-3 थिंग्स. बहुत सारे कैंडिडेट्स के दिमाग में डाउट आता है दैट सर व्हेन वी आर स्टार्टिंग आवर प्रिपरेशन, तो प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट करने के टाइम पे व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. सबसे पहली चीज व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. दूसरी चीज सर क्या कोचिंग जरूरी है. तीसरी चीज कर सकेगा कि नहीं सकेगा, क्योंकि देखते हैं हम लोग कि कंपटीशन में वो लोग भी हैं जो पिछले 4 ईयर से प्रिपरेशन कर रहे हैं. कंपटीशन में वो लोग भी हैं जिन्होंने ऑलरेडी एग्जाम दे दिया है, नहीं क्लियर कर पाए. ऐसे लोग भी हैं जिन्होंने एग्जाम दिया, क्लियर किया, नॉट गॉट अ बेटर रैंक, तो वो अगली बार बेटर रैंक के लिए फाइट करें. तो यू विल फाइट एवरी kind of person. So in that scenario, the students are having that particular thing in mind, that what should we do? Understand basic thing. सबसे पहली चीज, एग्जाम के लिए क्या जरूरी है? एग्जाम के लिए सबसे पहले इंपॉर्टेंट है प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन पेपर्स। आपको दो चीजें पता होनी चाहिए, फर्स्ट इज द सिलेबस, सेकंड इज द प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन पेपर्स। ये दो चीजें आपके पास हमेशा रखी होनी चाहिए ऑन योर टेबल, जस्ट लाइक द रिलीजियस बुक। बस इतना है कि इसको खोल लेना है कभी कभी। आपको पता होना चाहिए व्हाट इज सिलेबस। अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग, इट्स नॉट जस्ट द सिंपल थिंग कि व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट, इट इज इक्वली इंपॉर्टेंट टू नो व्हाट इज नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट। जब आप इस प्रिपरेशन के अंदर आते हो तो इस प्रिपरेशन के अंदर एवरीथिंग, एनीथिंग एंड एवरीथिंग अंडर द सन इज योर सिलेबस। 2024 के दिसंबर के अंदर एग्जाम हुआ, प्रीलिम्स का पेपर था, एपीपीएससीसी का, क्वेश्चन आए हुए थे नागालैंड के। अब कोई कैंडिडेट कहेगा सर ये तो गलत है, अनफेयर है। अरे दिस इज एग्जामिनेशन, कुछ भी हो सकता है वहां पे। दैट मीन्स, और एक चीज और, एग्जाम में आपको कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं आ रहा है या कोई क्वेश्चन आपको लग रहा है तो बिल्कुल आउट ऑफ सिलेबस हो गया, तो 95% चांस है कि बराबर वाला भी ऐसे ही बैठा है। ऐसा नहीं है कि आपके बराबर वाला आपसे बहुत ज्यादा स्मार्ट है, 5-10% का ही डिफरेंस है। इफ यू हैव प्रिपेयर्ड वेल, दैट मीन्स व्हेन आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द प्रिपरेशन, तो प्रिपरेशन के अंदर इंपॉर्टेंट है टू नो व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट एंड टू नो व्हाट इज नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट, दोनों चीजें। और ये पता चलता है आपको फ्रॉम द प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन पेपर्स एंड फ्रॉम द सिलेबस। ये दो चीजों का कॉम्बिनेशन विल गिव यू दिस थिंग। Second is about the coaching institute, whether you should go for the coaching institute or not. कोचिंग इंपॉर्टेंट है या नहीं? कोचिंग बिल्कुल इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, इट्स ट्रू। आप अपने आप बैठ के पढ़ सकते हो। द ओनली केसेस, डू यू हैव दैट लग्जरी ऑफ टाइम और नॉट? इफ यू आर डेडिकेटेड फॉर द कॉज, go for it, because many of the times it happens that the candidates, they are doing the classes, so they are regular, they are disciplined. Once they are not doing the classes, they are not regular, they are not disciplined. That is the context. Secondly, when we as a faculty are present, so our duty is there and responsibility is there to know what you need to study and what you do not need to study. This is what you get in the class. So when I say about the coaching institutes are just that particular scenario जो आपको एक बैकएंड पे सपोर्ट देने वाला है, क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना है। एट द एंड ऑफ द डे करना आप ही को है। सो कई बार, क्योंकि बहुत सारे बच्चे आते हैं, सर कोचिंग ज्वाइन करनी जरूरी है कि बिल्कुल जरूरी नहीं है, बट व्हेन वी आर अंडर द गन कि कुछ समय के अंदर हम लोगों को प्रिपरेशन को खत्म करना है और एग्जाम देना है, इन दैट सिनेरियो इट बिकम्स इंपॉर्टेंट। अगर आपके पास इसी एग्जाम के लिए 2 साल है, देयर इज नो इंपॉर्टेंस एट ऑल, पढ़ लो बैठ के आराम से, बुक्स अवेलेबल है। सो व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द प्रिपरेशन, प्लीज बी माइंडफुल। Then I don't know whether Ashish sir has highlighted this thing or not, because I was not in the class at that time. Guys, it is important, equally important, to know from whom you are studying. It is very, very important. When you are studying something from any teacher, it is important that you are mindful. It is important that you are mindful in getting it. It is equally important you are mindful that whether the teacher is or someone is teaching you in the appropriate manner or not, whether it is relevant for the examination or not. कई बार मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूं because many times what happens कि जब हम क्लास में कोई चीज पढ़ाते हैं तो कैंडिडेट घर पे जाता है, यूट्यूब ओपन करता है, यूट्यूब पे बहुत सारे अच्छे अच्छे लोग हैं जो उस टॉपिक के ऊपर वीडियो बनाते हैं और फिर 10 नए तरह की बातें बताते हैं, एंड देन द कैंडिडेट गेट्स इनटू द फोमो कि अरे ये तो मैंने पढ़ा ही नहीं। हुआ है कभी ऐसा? हुआ है कभी कोई टॉपिक पढ़ा हो और फिर एकदम से दोस्त ने बोला हो चाय पीते हुए, अरे ये पता है क्या? और अब आप सोच रहे थे टॉपिक पूरा पढ़ लिया था, ये क्यों नहीं पता है? अब आप परेशान हो, वो आपसे कह रहा है कि ये तो एग्जाम में जरूर पूछ सकता है, करंट अफेयर्स के अंदर है। करंट अफेयर्स अपने आप में नया दुख है जीवन का। सो इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू नो दैट वन सेम पॉइंट, दैट व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट टू स्टडी एंड व्हाट इज नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट टू स्टडी। एग्जाम के लिए क्या रेलेवेंट है, एग्जाम के लिए क्या रेलेवेंट नहीं है। लास्ट थिंग फ्रॉम माय साइड, एक क्वेश्चन का आंसर जो आप सब लोग फिर पूछोगे, दैट इज सर कर सकेंगे कि नहीं कर सकेंगे। understand one simple scenario. The nature of this examination is that it is going to give the same platform to everyone. इसीलिए एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन पूछने का तरीका बदलता है. जब लास्ट ईयर नागालैंड से रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन थे तो वो क्वेश्चन सभी के लिए नए थे. नागालैंड के क्वेश्चंस के लिए कोई प्रिपेयर्ड नहीं था. यानी कि एग्जाम के अंदर जब आपसे वो कुछ क्वेश्चंस पूछता है तो इट इज पुटिंग यू ऑन द इक्वल प्लेटफॉर्म with respect to those candidates who are already preparing for the 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years. This is why examination pattern changes. तो यहां पे ये चीज आपको अपने अंदर रखनी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है that you have that trust in yourself that whether I'll be able to do it or not. And as sir has said to you that if you will be dedicated, you will surely do it. बहुत सिंपल सिनेरियो. इसमें कोई दूसरा मैटर नहीं है. बट डू नॉट मेक इट लाइक अ सिनारियो कि यार मैं पहले इस पर्टिकुलर चीज को खत्म करूंगा देन उस पर मूव करूंगा. नहीं, यू हैव टू गो इन सच अ मैनर सो दैट यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग एटलीस्ट sizable amount of syllabus before the examination. We are having nearly 6 to 7 कितना months है? 9 months. ठीक है, तो एटलीस्ट मतलब आई गेस मोर देन 8 months है क्योंकि वो डेट थोड़ा सा. तो यू आर हैविंग दैट मच ऑफ टाइम विद यू. तो यू शुड नॉट हैव द फोकस ओनली ऑन दिस कि मैं सिर्फ इतना खत्म करके प्रीलिम्स दे दूंगा, प्रीलिम्स के बाद आगे का सोचूंगा. आगे सोचने का टाइम ही नहीं मिलेगा. भूल जाओ आगे सोचने का. इसलिए योर गोल शुड बी दैट आई विल कवर द साइजेबल अमाउंट ऑफ सिलेबस बिफोर द प्रिलिमिनरी एग्जामिनेशन सो दैट आई विल बी इन द कंफर्टेबल पोजीशन. इज इट क्लियर टू एवरीवन? यस और नो? अरे हाँ या ना? यस. चलिए. So that is all from my side. Now I'll ask Pandey sir to give some of the views and share some experience with you. Chaliye. Have a great day, guys.
I request Akshay sir to be present here. ठीक होता है मेरे साथ. Every time I try to speak, Akshay sir's loud voice always suppresses me. Anyways, you are already aware of everything. I have a bad habit of having marker always in my hand. So I'll take just this much space. See, you are aware of the syllabus. You are aware of the pattern. Okay. Just one thing I'll talk about is the required resources. Okay. The easiest resources are NCRT. Okay. NCRT books, these are the most important and probably the easiest of all the resource base. Okay. Definitely from the institute side, we do provide all the related content in printed form also. But nevertheless, this does not undermine the most important resource, that is NCERT. Okay. If you read the NCERT, mostly 6th to 12th class, if you read NCERT books, you will find that nearly half of the questions are coming directly from these books. And as now you are understanding that most of the syllabus is very broad and indicative in nature. If there is some certain set of books that can give you the guarantee that at least you will easily qualify prelims if you are good with NCERT, so I don't think there should be any easy examination compared to this. Because why I'm calling it easy? Because if you are good with NCERT, as pointed out earlier also, the cutoff is hardly 81, 82 marks. That turns out to be some 41 questions out of 100. Okay. In any other examination, most likely you have to attempt maximum number of questions, that to correct. Here, if you are not even knowing half of the questions, there is no problem at all. You will become the officer, right? So here the requirement is not knowing everything. Here the requirement is just applying whatever you know to get the task done, right? That's what officers do. Yes or no? Officers are always short of resources. Agreed? If we would be having the resources, then there should not be any problem. There should not be any poverty. There should not be any potholes in the road. Yes or no? Everything looks good, but we are always short on resources. And as an officer, you have to manage all these situations within the limited resources. The same is being done here also. So this itself shows you need not to be perfect to know each and everything. So don't run after knowing each and everything. Just run after these NCERT books and be assured that you will surely clear prelims, and 40% of your mains preparation is also done with the help of these books, right? So I don't think any other resource can be easier than this. Plus definitely the class notes. Class notes makes the task easier. Reading complex topics, having complex diagrams, having the understanding of the complex concepts through the class notes becomes very easy, because usually in the books you are given long descriptions, the complex terms, right? The English is also many a times using difficult words, but when we dictate it in the classroom, when we draw it in the board, we convert the complex ideas into a simpler form, right? Like all of you are having the syllabus, yes or no? The same syllabus is written here also. I hope this makes more sense to all of you. Agreed? Right? That's what we do here, and that's what we are here for, right? So class notes has to be your primary source of revision, plus NCERT to enhance your extra understanding, right? These two things, if you are good with that, uh, consistently, if you keep on doing this, I don't have any doubt that any one of you would ever fail to clear your targets. Okay, so these are the two things, just two things. If you are good with them, it's easy. If you keep running for different resources, definitely you will gain a lot of knowledge. You will become probably the most knowledgeable person, but you will never become the officer. So you have to decide what you want to become, right? And of course, once you are officer, after that also you can keep on gaining the knowledge. Okay, the life is always there to give you the knowledge and the learning. So right now it is important that you understand the constraints and focus on those aspects that can make you the officer. Is it clear? Okay, so from my side, these are the only two things. And also, I would not shy away from claiming this, that God has been really graceful on all of us, Ashish sir, Akshay sir, me, Ankit sir, that whatever we are teaching here, most of it is coming in exam also, right? तो जो क्लास नोट दिया जाएगा उसको रट्टा मार लेना और पढ़ लेना, एग्जाम में उसी में से आ रहा है आजकल. ओके, and why? I mean, there is a reason. It's not like it's just a coincidence. There is a reason. Whatever we are teaching you in the class notes, in the class, or through test papers and all, it is all based on the understanding of the examination, right? It is all based on the understanding of the syllabus. And this examination, even though it may look like anything can be asked under the sun, it's not the case. If it is anything, leave that question. It's easy. उसमें क्यों अपना दिमाग खराब करना है? Getting it or not? It's just 41 questions. To be on safer side, let's say 50 or 55 questions, right? Still you have more than 40 questions that you can say, ठीक है हमको नहीं आता है. Let anybody else run after those questions. You just focus on your portion and become the officer. After you become the officer, you will meet them जो बाकी का 40 क्वेश्चन के पीछे भाग रहा था. उधर कहीं लाइन में खड़ा आपको दिखेगा कि जरा सर से मिल लेता है या मैडम से मिल लेता है, right? So you need not to be worried much about that. Always remember, if you don't know a question, assume that the question paper is of 99 questions only. ठीक है, हाँ ये कर करके ऐसा नहीं कि क्वेश्चन पेपर 10 क्वेश्चन का ही है, यहाँ तक पहुँच गया. ओके, so always remember, examination is a very predictable. Examination is very easy. What makes it difficult is the process. The process is a long drawn process. It's not like any other examination where you study for 2 or 3 months and you are done with the preparation. It's a long drawn process where not everybody is able to sustain, because of which the competition becomes very intense, right? So even though if 15,000-16,000 candidates are appearing in the prelims examination, hardly 1,500 are clearing it to write the mains. Okay, and out of that 1,500 also, just 300 odd candidates are there for 100 posts. Okay, the overall competition among the 16,000 is hardly between 1500 to 2,000 people. So competition is not that intense per se, because if you are among that 1,000 2,000 odd people, you are very well within your right to get selected, right? If you are out of that because of lot many reasons, as this process is a long drawn, sometimes you are celebrating the festival, sometimes you are celebrating the company of friends, family gathering, this and that, lot many ups and downs are there. Okay, just that you have to sustain that. Okay, if you are able to sustain that, it's a very much doable task, it's very much easy task. Okay, we are always there for you people to support in any possible manner. Okay, so take the help of us in whatever manner possible. Okay, our only task is to make sure all of you get selected in one way or the other, any post, any service, any rank. If you are there, you are a deserving candidate. Okay, fine then. Thank you guys. That's it from my side. Now sir will inform you about the courses and all. Okay.
Okay, very briefly, I'll tell you about the courses which are commencing.
at Itanagar Center. That in the offline mode, that is the regular classroom course. The regular classroom course in the offline mode that we are starting with on 15th, which is tomorrow, 15th January. That we are starting with the GS Prelims course. The GS Prelims course, which will go on for around some 90 to 95 classes. Over here, that the subject of history, economics, this will be taken by myself. My name is Ashish Ranjan. Geography will be taken by Ashutosh sir. Polity by Akshay Jain sir. By Akshay Jain sir. And general science plus environment and ecology by Ankit Singh Chauhan sir. He could not make it to the workshop because of his class, the ongoing class in Nirjuli. So that, and then with regard to current affairs, obviously, for example, say if I'm teaching economics, then all the current updates of economics will be provided by me. Similarly, for example, the political developments, the political news will be covered by Akshay Jain sir, so on and so forth. The environment and science and technology developments will be discussed by Ankit sir. So current affairs of the relevant portion by the respective faculties. Okay, by the respective faculties. So you have the GS Prelims course, which is starting tomorrow. The timing is from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay, from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay, so that is the prelims course, which is starting in offline mode at Itanagar. So we already have an ongoing integrated course, which is the prelims cum mains course. It is an ongoing course in which that it is an integrated course which is divided into 4 modules. The GS1, it is already completed. It is already completed. GS2 is midway. GS3 has already been announced to start on 20th of February, and after the completion of GS3, that we will start with GS4, and GS4 plus SA is put together. This is the mains GS4 and SA put together. All these four modules put together ensure a coverage of the prelims as well as main syllabus, right? GS1 has already been completed, GS2, GS3, GS4. For those who are starting from scratch, do not have the idea of the subject from before, I'll not advise them to start with the any of the integrated courses to begin with. It's better to have a coverage of the prelims first and then step into the mains. Now the question that what about the coverage of the main syllabus in your case? Probably when you reach at certain phase, maybe you can join with some new, or maybe some of you who have an idea of certain subjects from behind, some of you would have already prepared for prelims. In that case, you can join from these courses as well. But then what about the, like, suppose somebody who's opting for the prelims program today will have a question, what about the mains courses for them? We always ensure, because all the faculties, all the four GS faculties are based out of Itanagar. That means that we put up in Itanagar, there is no visiting faculty for, general studies subject, right? So we are all based out of Itanagar. We all put up in Itanagar. We do not go for any visiting faculty with regard to general studies paper. Yes, for our optional subject courses, we do have faculties who come, they complete their optional subject and go back. But then for general studies paper, that we do not have any visiting faculty, right? So the faculty is put up over here almost 11 months a year, right? And so we have a continuity of the courses. So that means that, for example, when this stops, that again the cycle will repeat in continuity. So you need not worry about the completion of the courses, because the courses go on round the year in continuity. So there is no break, no pause that we take, right? No pause, no break that we take. And that is why that I have repeated the word discipline time and again, and so that you pay attention to the word. But has anybody noticed the word discipline in the printed material? The spelling is deliberately put wrong over there, so that at least you look at it and complain back to me. Okay, discipline is the key. You can't ignore that. Beat anything, koi festival aaya, kuch aaya. Obviously, it's important to celebrate. It's important to enjoy. But then we can put everything on hold for the next 9-10 months. Okay. Further, like those who are comfortable with online, that our online both prelims and mains courses, they are starting on 22nd of January, right? 22nd of January, that the online prelims and mains courses are being that they are starting. So prelims course, again the same thing which is written over there, 90 to 95 classes, the same. This timing is 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. This is to suit the office going candidates, because generally we have a good number of people who are working and preparing, so to suit their timing. Now, in fact, the timing for mains, now this is a purely mains course. It is not an integrated course. It's a purely mains course. So we are starting with GS1, followed by GS2, 3, 4. Now the timing again is 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. But obviously, in all the courses, we are offering the recording of the classes. In case of the online classes, let me, because there can be certain confusion about it. The online class in our case is not that we don't go online from this camera. It's not that online class for us is not that I'm teaching the students and the same thing is being relayed to other students. No, that our online course is a completely distinct, a separate, a purely online live course with recording, wherein we use a Cisco WebEx platform. We use a Cisco WebEx platform, wherein that there is a digital board. So for example, I have a digital writing pad. in my system is a digital board. I will write on my pad. It will appear over there in your laptop screen or your mobile screen, right? Whatever video is being generated, that will be offered to you, and whatever I'm writing, which is appearing on your screen, that gets downloaded into the form of a PDF. So for example, over here, if this was my online class and if this is my writing board, then whatever I have written, it will get downloaded into the form of a PDF and will be shared with the students, right? So it's a completely pure live online class. It's not that I'm relaying with this camera. This camera is only for the offline students to provide them access to the recording if they miss their classes. That's it. It's this is not our medium for online classes, right? For example, that if anybody who was there during the online workshop on 14th, sorry, not 14th, on 11th, anybody was there for the online workshop? So you would already know how it works, right? So whatever you are looking at the video in your mobile phone, that gets, so you can attend live, or you can, that gets downloaded and that gets shared with the students, A. And B, that whatever I'm writing, so all that I'm writing while teaching, it is coming on your phone or on your laptop. That entire whatever I have written on the board, that gets downloaded into the form of a PDF and is being shared, right? So we deliberately choose for that option, kind of increasing our workload of conducting a separate class. But in my opinion, it's personal, that in my personal opinion, I feel that that gives a greater sense of satisfaction to me, because I'm able to share the PDF of whatever I have written, because many a times when you are focusing on the screen, many a times you may not be able to copy it completely or something like that. So the entire video plus the lecture in written form is there with you, right? The access is there with you. Fine. So these are the courses, as I have repeated, for the CSAT, that we will be starting our course by end of February or beginning March, right? For CSAT. For that, the exact schedule is yet not out. You will be informed in due course. I will ask you to choose your courses wisely. Only bite as much as you can chew to begin with, right? Because if you take too much of pressure to begin with, at times, there is a sense of frustration, there is a sense of dejection कि मैंने start किया और मैं पढ़ाई नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ, right? So yes, you must work hard, try to complete the syllabus as early as possible, but then it should not be like that you are just attending classes, not going back home and revising, right? Ensure continuity in preparation, never go for a break. There should not be even a single day when you have not studied. Some days can be good, bad, right? But make sure that at least you study something, so that we are always reminded the core purpose of our life in 2026, right? So with that, nothing more to share from my side. I'll leave it open for you to ask any question. Once the session gets completed, there is a QR code over there. You can scan, be a part of the group, right? And I'll be posting the question over there, okay? Anything from your side? Any query? For the optional subject, that geography optional subject has already started. So geography, anthropology, and sociology optional subject, okay? So the three optional subjects, geography, sociology, and anthropology has already started. Around some 35 classes are over, okay? Of these subjects, obviously the classes that have been missed, those who are interested, for them the recording of the missed out classes are available. But then these classes, the 35 classes, are almost over, right? The subject which has started recently is public administration. Public administration, that 2 classes are over. In fact, today, right after your session, you will have the third class. The 2 classes are over, and the third class of public administration. I mean, I take the subject of public administration, geography by Ashutosh Pandey sir, sociology by Akshay Jain sir, and anthropology by Ankit Singh Chauhan sir. So the 3 subjects started in the month of November. 35 classes are over. This has started on 12th of January, 2 days back. So, and this at Itanagar Center is from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. Okay. So these are the optional subjects, right? But again, as I said, that choose your courses very wisely. so that you are able to revise the same. Merely attending classes will be of no good use. Fine. Okay. Now, if anything is to be asked from your side, don't tell me I was so good in explaining that you have no doubts left. Yeah. Yes, please. Right. Like you said, if you're joining anthropology, so anthropology is our offline class. Just that even for the offline class, we have the recording. So whatever offline classes you have missed, the 35 classes, you'll be provided recording for it. And then you can continue in offline or online, depending on your choice. Okay. But that online class, that optional is not online optional, just that after the class, the recording is provided. Right. What I said, that online courses are these courses, which are pure online courses for which we offer the Cisco WebEx platform. You download that Cisco WebEx in your mobile phone and you get a live class, which is not something like that this camera is recording over here. It's a completely different platform. In fact, Cisco is a very advanced software used by many government organizations as well. Ah, I said if you're just starting with scratch, बिल्कुल शुरुआत से कर रहा है और थोड़ा पढ़ाई किया हुआ टाइम हो गया, जमाना एक हो गया है ना, और स्टार्ट कर रहा है, then maybe you can just start with something light. Prelims, yes. Ah, that's all right, you can repeat it later. Mains go. हाँ, depends, like suppose आप मेंस का कौन सा कोर्स करना चाह रहा है, जीएस पेपर 1, जीएस पेपर 2, क्या? So in the online वाला वो offline, see this is an integrated course, तो इसमें prelims और mains दोनों cover हो रहा है. For example, if you are preparing for GS paper 2, your prelims polity and the entire GS paper 2 mains will be covered, right? So this is an integrated course. If you're joining over here, you will have to repeat this to complete the entire syllabus. Okay? Or the other thing is you can go for the recording. That's your wish, right? This is an integrated course. This is a separate prelims and this is a purely mains course, right? Okay. Any confusion? Uh, Online May, it is starting on 22nd. The prelims approximately, so 90 to 95 days. Suppose if it is 95 days, so 13 Sundays, 95 plus 13, 108, some 5-6 days of maybe, because after the end of every subject, you will have a test. So on a daily basis, we take a test of 10 questions, which is posted in your WhatsApp group. That on a daily basis, we call it dinner digest. So every evening that you'll be getting some 10 questions in your WhatsApp group. Maybe first, second days, we will not give it because, you would not have completed sizable portion of the syllabus. So you have a daily test followed by that once I come, for example, tomorrow I'll be starting with history. So once the subject of history is completed, be it in online or offline, you will have a test. So some 6-7 days for test. So 4 months you can keep it over there. So 19th, if suppose if it's starting on 19 January, February, March, April, and May. So up to the third week of May, the course will go. Okay. बिल्कुल कर सकते. Now these are that online course prelims is separate, mains is separate, right? So if you want to opt for together, I mean, if you want to opt both, that is your wish. Simultaneously, if you want to opt both, that is your wish. But the courses are separate courses. Yes. Any other thing? Yes, 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 yes. So जैसे वो खत्म होगा, like suppose this cycle gets completed, you will have the beginning of the next cycle. हाँ वो कर, साइकिल नहीं खत्म होने से पहले you can join from JS 3, 4, then complete 1 and 2. That's your wish. These are completely independent modules, right? You can opt for a module, right? These are the only subjects which are at present available at Success Point. We'll soon be starting with that by the end of January, that we'll be starting with agriculture and history. So agriculture and history will be starting by the end of January. The announcement will be made soon. And so these are the subjects that we offer. So for example, there are other subjects also, for say subject of economics, right? Say subject of a botany. You can choose any subject, right? But then those subjects are not available at the institute. And generally that you will not find these subjects anywhere, because these, like say, for example, for botany, for economics, you don't have a large number of takers. So you will not find, to the best of my knowledge, that you will not find a class for it for APPSCCE in Arunachal Pradesh. Any other thing? Yeah, please feel. Say that will depend on subject. Subject is purely your choice. What is your educational background? Agriculture लिया था. Okay. Nursing officer. Okay. AIMS Delhi. So you will be okay. So see, depends. I'll tell you, because you either you can opt if you want. आपके लिए एक natural choice क्या हो सकता है? You have done agriculture till 12th, so you can look at the agriculture syllabus. But then I think 12th तक sufficient नहीं होगा. Graduation कम से कम होने से, agriculture is a technical subject. So I doubt that you will have the similarity, that kind of a similarity with agriculture, because the syllabus is generally a graduation level syllabus, right? So I doubt over there you can do that, right? See, any advice that sounds very easy is very dangerous, right? Any advice which sounds very easy is kind of dangerous. Anthropology is a wonderful subject, but don't just opt for it because ऐसे तुरंत हो जाता है, ऐसे नहीं, right? It's a wonderful subject. This time it has done good. Anthropology, it has done good. So you can, and also don't go by the trends. Who knows? For example, a subject which has done good this time may not do good next time. So don't go by all these things. Go by that, okay, आपके पास किसके लिए good material available है. If you are looking for a class, good class available है, और आपको subject में देख के लगे कि मैं पढ़ाई कर लूंगा. You will never have a very, that, okay, I've taken a subject and you are very happy about it. कि अरे ये subject तो बहुत अच्छा है. You will always have doubts. You will have to work hard in any subject. Okay. So, generally, that choosing an optional subject is slightly complicated unless and until somebody is choosing the subject in which they have graduated and post-graduated. It's otherwise a little bit of dilemma all the time. So to back yourself, take a subject and go ahead. दो तीन जिसमें confusion है, उसका syllabus देखिए, previous year question paper देखिए. You have a good vibe, you go ahead with it. For example, I'll tell you. Say I take the subject of public administration. In my subject, all the top rankers, none of them come from a humanities background, right? So for example, at rank 19 is somebody who's an engineer. I think rank 26, again engineer. You said about nursing, rank 64, our own Lady Singham, Nipi, she was from nursing, right? That, and she's from public administration. You talk of civil engineers opting for sociology, right? Opting for sociology. And on the other hand, you have people choosing for their own subject as well, right? Own subject as well, right? For example, at rank 4, that, the candidate opted for her own subject of botany. So it's no golden rule that, you need to go for the subject of your choice that you have studied. I mean, sorry, that the subject of your graduation, you can opt for other subjects as well. It has worked well for people who have stuck to their subject. Subjects like geography, history, PubAd, political science, anthropology, do not require any background. But yes, when you talk of subject like, say if you're talking of subject like botany, it requires a background. Agriculture, it requires a background, right? For example, that somebody who has done a history graduation will not be able to, will find it very difficult to take agriculture. But yes, somebody who's from agriculture, maybe because they are studying history as a part of their general study, they may, they may get comfortable with history, right? Yeah. I'll advise that, be, in that inquiry group, I will share the Google Drive folder, which is the open access folder of all the optional subjects, some initial demo classes, right? So you will have the demo classes of 10 classes of all the above subjects, because in public administration, only 2 classes are over. So there, I cannot offer 10 classes, right? But the classes will be uploaded over a period of time. You can go through that and maybe decide for yourself, right? But yes, there is one good way, that you choose an optional subject and complete. If you're looking at, say, suppose only prelims, then probably you can also choose an optional subject and complete, because that gives you a confidence of 500 marks. 500 marks of optional subject, right? So आपको थोड़ा सा एक confidence रहेगा that okay, my optional subject is completed by the time I complete my prelims syllabus. Okay. Any other thing? No. Okay. There is a myth about